A very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to Perspectives, a current affairs discussion program on IGET Radio 95.5 Star FM Makudi. Today on the program, we shall discuss the move by the Senate to establish Local Government Electoral Commission. The bill for establishment of a National Independent Local Government Electoral Commission scared first reading in the Senate last Thursday, sponsored by the senator representing Niger East in the Senate. The bill is seeking the establishment of a commission that will be dedicated to handling the conduct of elections at the third tier of government. The bill is titled Local Government Independent Electoral Commission Establishment Bill 2024, and it is coming at a time the Supreme Court of Nigeria recently granted financial autonomy to the local government councils. What has been the desirability for the creation of this commission, and why is it coming up speedily shortly after the Supreme Court has granted financial autonomy to the councils, and we are looking forward to its implementation? We shall try to interrogate some of these issues on Perspectives today. I've been joined on the program by the former resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Kogi State, currently distinguished professor of political science at the Benue State University, Makudi, Professor James Apam is our guest on Perspectives. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Nat. Good morning, listeners.
We are also expecting the former chairman of Ushongo Local Government Council in Benue State, Engineer Terver Orduen, who will also join us. And once he's here with us in the studio, we'll let you know. I am Nathaniel Nongu, welcoming you to this Wednesday edition of Perspectives. If you are tuning in for the first time to the program, kindly be informed that it is audience participatory. It takes the air between now and 11 a.m. and usually at 10 o'clock, we allow you, the listener, to also call in to participate on the program. You can call in at that time on 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Send us a text message or a chat on WhatsApp to 0912-699-9404, 0912-699-9404. Log on to our website on www.igetradiotv.com to listen to the program, and also follow all our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. We are available on all these platforms to serve you. Also, you can download the IGET Radio and TV app from our Google Play Store to listen to us. And if you have your device that you have Radio Garden on it, you can also access the listenership of IGET Radio there. Prof, let's begin right away. And let's start with the background of the Supreme Court financial autonomy, the court ruling granting financial autonomy to the local councils. As a scholar of political science, how did this come to you?
Well, the Nigerian Constitution provides for a joint account system between the states and local governments. And over time, since the return to democracy in 1999, governors have used that to appropriate the management of local governments for their own use. It's common knowledge in most of the states. First of all, elections are hardly conducted. The governors would appoint people they call caretaker chairmen, were the councillors. And then over time, through the joint account process, they would take out the monies belonging to local governments and perhaps just release some for the payment of salaries. And in some other times, even in Benue State, I have seen where even the salaries wouldn't be paid. And then the governors simply take the money, perhaps just give a little to the chairman, because they are their own political appointees, and then that ends it. And that was the concern that led to the court case in the Supreme Court, that local government funds should be sent directly to them. And I guess that's also the concern that has led to the bill that has been initiated by the senator from Niger State or so. But of course, I have my reservations about that bill. Maybe in the course of the discussion we'll talk about that too. But I think since we ask about the background, that provides a background to which anybody would send a bill to the National Assembly for the establishment of a separate electoral commission for the conduct of elections in the local government councils.
Okay, but at the moment, are you happy that the local government councils have been granted financial autonomy going by that ruling of the Supreme Court recently?
Yes, it's okay that the autonomy has been granted, but I'm not too sure of how much you can call it an autonomy. First of all, the constitution, the provision that talks about the joint account system, first of all, needs to be altered. But again, the Nigeria runs a federation, but of course the federation is between the central government and the states. And then the powers of the local governments have actually been subsumed under the powers of the state governments. And that is why the joint account system was placed there in the first place. But that has been abused over time, like I've said before. The money spent to local governments are not sent to local governments, but are spent by the governors for whatever they want. So that is wrong. And so I also have the feeling and the concern that, of course, the management for local government should be sent to them. But I'm not too sure that that is actually going to solve the problem as it appears. And that is why from that Supreme Court ruling, somebody then thinks that they can go a little bit further to say that you can create a separate electoral commission for the conduct of elections in local government areas. So for now, let me say I think I'm happy that the monies could be going to local governments. That is if it actually still go to local governments. That is also if we're actually going to have democratic structures in local government areas. Otherwise, whether they are sent to local government coffers directly or not, it probably wouldn't make a difference on the long run.
Okay, you mentioned earlier that the local governments seem to operate a joint account with the state governments. With this ruling by the Supreme Court granting them financial autonomy, do you envisage the local government council's chairman participating in the federation account allocation meeting?
They don't even need to participate in the federation account meeting. Of course, the meetings could still be held by the state accountant generals with the federal accountant general or whoever, or minister for finance or whoever. But the monies could still be sent to them directly once the central government has the account numbers of those local government areas. So it's about accepting the fact that the right thing needs to be done at any given time and not even worrying about who does it and at what time it is done. I think the right thing simply needs to be accepted and done.
Okay, granted that the right thing is done at this time, shortly after the Supreme Court ruling was made, an account allocation, a federation allocation committee, that's a FAC, disbursed funds for June. Are we sure the funds were directly disbursed to the local government councils, given that the Supreme Court ordered immediate compliance?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know, because I never really get to know. I only hope that the Supreme Court ruling was complied with. But again, like we said, even if it was complied with, and now you come back, you find non-elected structures in local government areas in most states. So I wonder what difference that will really make.
Okay, let's go to our subject matter, which is the Senate's move to establish local government electoral commission. And I will start by asking you, what is your assessment of the conduct of local government elections in the country over the years?
It's actually always been a sham, so to say, because in most states, the one party A, is in control, and then the elections are seemingly conducted. Then the party A wins all the local government chairmanship seats as well as the councillorship. So I do not think elections are actually conducted. I saw it somewhere. Of course, I won't go further. But that is what has been happening over time. And so that needs to be corrected. And then in correcting it, we also need to be careful how we go about correcting that and not to go into deeper problems or not to run away from what the actual problem is.
Okay, and what are those areas? You mentioned it has been a sham. If it should be corrected, not to make it a sham, what are those areas that needs to be corrected in the conduct of elections in the territory?
Yeah, we already have state independent electoral commissions. And so what we need to do is to make sure that these commissions are able to conduct their elections And like I said before, when you have a problem, you don't run away from it with the hope that you still trying to solve the problem. So that has been a problem in this country. In fact, conduct of elections generally, not only at the local government level. So that's what we need to look into. Make sure and keep saying it, and then make sure that elections are actually conducted in this country creditably, whether they are local government elections or state level or federal elections. That's what we need to insist on once we realize that there's a problem somewhere. So we just need to insist instead of run away from the problem and get into other problems.
Okay, as a former resident electoral commissioner, on a general note, what are the impediments to the conduct of our elections? Let's look at it in a broad sense, beyond even the local.
There because, first of all, those who call themselves politicians or seemingly Democrats don't know what democracy is about. They have no respect for basic democratic norms. And so, like I said, the issues on elections do not only apply to local government areas. They do apply, of course, to the entire country and every level of election. And so these Democrats need to be true Democrats. They need to realize what democracy is about. They need to accept basic democratic norms. They need to accept the fact that people who call themselves Democrats should be there by virtue of the people's votes, by people's consent. And so once we get that right, and that's what we need to work on basically, once we get that right, of course we can then have elections at every level, and people will then accept the leaders who are put in place. They too would need to respect the people who elect them. So that's what we need to work on.
Okay, politicians not being Democrats. Is the electoral institution itself as an umpire living up to expectation by your assessment?
It is not, because of the manipulations of the same politicians who would want to stay in power by all means, not minding how they get in there. And it's unfortunate that, like, there are many people who are there by virtue of this democracy that we keep referring to, which has become a cant word, so to say. They are there, but they have no basic appreciation of democratic norms. They've been using that over time to access political power in this country. And then most of them think democracy is just about civil rule. They think it's just once you don't have a military government in place, then you have democracy. And so once they get there, they don't really matter. It doesn't really matter to them how they get into power. And then they use all sorts of words. Some of them are quite vulgar about what the kind of things they say once in power. They become all-knowing, not thinking that others also have some idea about this system of government that we're practicing now.
All right, so if we should get our electoral system right, what are the fundamental things that generally needs to be looked at from the umpire and also from the political actors?
The political actors are the ones who are actually the bigger culprits. They're the ones who have not allowed democracy to flourish in this country. They simply want to stay in power by all means. And then it requires the people's power too. The people also need to have some deeper understanding of what democracy entails. And then for them to insist on the people insist that the people who actually get into power are people who are truly elected by the people. So the consciousness needs to be there. And then the people should keep talking about these things and insisting that the right thing is done. Of course, over time, the understanding has not been there to the extent that even the people who are the receiving end also become complicit in the mess that we found ourselves in. And that is why we keep talking about the nature of governance, even beyond elections. So the consciousness, first of all, needs to be there, even by the people who then bring on the pressure on the politicians or the political actors to make sure the right thing is done, that the elections are truly conducted. Because like you did ask about how the electoral umpire does. I think the electoral umpire is also open to all forms of manipulation by the same political actors who would want to be there by all means.
All right. When you mentioned the electoral umpire is open to manipulation, maybe let's go a bit personal. Would you like to share your experience with us while manning your
point generally about the way in which elections are conducted in this country and how the electoral umpire is able to operate? I don't want to go into talking about my own personal experiences because, of course, they're not tasteful. But that's much I can say on an issue like that.
Okay, let's look a bit narrowed to the concept of elections at the third tier of government, where it is our focus now. Would you speak to us on what you have noticed may have been the lapses in the conduct of the elections at the third tier of government in particular?
Well, there's really been no conscious effort to make sure elections are conducted at that level of government. I remember that a few years ago in Kaduna State, the government of Nasir El-Rufai was able to conduct elections in the state even using electronic voting machines. And people were somewhat appreciative of the effort that he made. And I think at that time, the other parties were also able to win a few of the local government chairmanship elections in the state. I don't know whether it was just an arrangement to make sure that others won somewhere so that it would be made to look as if it was credible. But of course, other parties also won. And what impressed me most personally was the fact that they was able to use electronic voting machines. And the argument someone was brought at that time was that if El-Rufai could use these machines in one state, then why couldn't the others do the same thing? And of course, why couldn't also the INEC also ensure that his own machines were working in every part of the country? So, I'll go back to what I said before about the fact that the consciousness needs to be there, and perhaps the pressure could be brought in by the people themselves to make sure that the democracy truly takes a firm root, both at that level of government and at the higher levels.
All right. We've now been joined here in the studio by our second lead discussant on the program, the former chairman of Ushongo Local Government Council in Benue State, Engineer Terver Orduen. Welcome to Perspectives, Engineer Orduen.
Thank you very much, Nath.
All right. Before you joined us, your lead discussant, your co-lead discussant on the program, Professor Apam, had been holding forth, giving us insights. Now that you are here with us, let's have a refresher with you, beginning with the pronouncement for financial autonomy for local government councils. How did you receive the news?
Yes, for this year, that has been the most excited news I've heard in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The local government is the closest tier of government to the people. It has to be treated with all sense of humility and standards. But by the fact that there were bottlenecks, there was no autonomy financially and administratively, the hands of local government chairmen were tied. You must refer to the state governments to join them together to take decisions. And major decisions were taken by the states on the local government system, which had really affected the system. And so, first, I must thank the Supreme Court of Nigeria for doing the needful. What we're waiting for now is the joint session of the National Assembly, which has the authority to fully decide which people are to conduct that particular election. There were no decisions on whether it is going to be the Independent National Electoral Commission and the state electoral commissions, which boils down to the fact that it becomes a constitutional matter, and it lies in the hands of the National Assembly. And I now in this studio call on the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to do the needful. The Supreme Court has done its part. The federal government have also done its part. And then the honors fall on them to respect the views of the court and the generality of Nigerians.
All right, talking about the National Assembly, already there's a move to that effect, which is even our central focus on this program. The Senate, already last Thursday, Senator for Niger East, Senator Sani Musa Ibi, is sponsored, seeking the creation of Local Government Independent Electoral Commission Establishment Bill 2024, scaled through first reading in the Senate. We will go along with that. But the Supreme Court ruling in terms of financial autonomy, I'm still with you, Engineer Orduen.
Yeah.
In terms of financial autonomy, now that the councils have been granted this financial autonomy, do you see them applying the resources actually to the benefits of people at the grassroots?
Yes, autonomy was withdrawn. And throughout for a very long time, the state governments have always been very in charge, deciding what takes place at the local government. Let us see when the federal government will credit the account of the local government to elected councils. For somebody who is elected, you must be accountable to the people. My worry is that teachers were removed. The local government pays teachers, pays the traditional council, pays local government pensions, and pay those who are still staffs in the local government. Part of the money that comes to the local government goes to SUBEB. I don't know whether the chairman will be directed to be sending the money down, because they were removed from the local government payroll. I don't know which decision will be taken. But then, power now belongs to the people. They will scrutinize, elect people. If you are found wanting, you will not accuse the governor again. You will not accuse the Bureau of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs again. Because when we're acting as a joint account, the state will sit with the local government, and a lot of deductions will be made. It is the local government that pays the Benue State Traditional Council. It is the local government that pays, part of the money goes to Local Government Service Commission. It is the local government money that goes to local government pensions. When this money comes, these are the deductions that are being made before what gets to the chairman becomes very meager to do both administrative and project works. So let us see the framework. We will not be fast to preempt things on the radio. Giving an autonomy is one thing. The implementation is also another. Once you are looking for a way to absolutely put a system in shape, some people are also looking for ways to make sure that the system does not go that way. The fact that the local government has gotten its autonomy, the states will still have bureaus for local government and ministries for local government. And a lot of things will be controlled at that point. I want to make this clearly to you, that removing, trying to send money to the local government account directly, but then there will be a control room. So the rules and the rule have to be made such that the control rooms will also have their hands not very fully on what happens. As far as the local governments are in the states, the state governors will oversee them. See what they are doing. If you do anything fishy, your councillors are there. Actually, as a local government chairman, you are supposed to give monthly income and expenditure to your councils for scrutiny. And because there were one or two things done at the Bureau for Local Government, sometimes we begin to run helter-skelter because of income and expenditure. Some expenditures were made here, others were made at the local government. So it was not easy to reconcile the expenditure. That's why you see, at all times, councillors were trying to move the chairman this way and that way to make sure that those things come. And you see that the Bureau for Local Government will never be comfortable with such arrangements because they had also dipped their hands. So I want to tell you clearly that what we have heard now in this pronouncement, the federal government will have to make a very clear framework. And then, power belongs to the people. Until the people are allowed to elect people of their choice, the system will continue to suffer. Yes, we have been looking for autonomy. It has arrived. We are now looking forward for proper implementation.
All right. Time for proper implementation, which is to say, you really doubt if the Supreme Court pronouncement will be complied with, the ruling of the Supreme Court.
I have no doubt over that.
All right. It's okay. Professor Apam, let's dive deeper into the bill seeking the establishment for local government electoral commission. And I would like to read extensively parts of the provisions of that bill, which scaled through first reading. The proposed NIGEC, that is the National National Independent Local Government Electoral Commission, based on its proposal in that bill, says shall consist of a chairperson and 6 commissioners appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate. The chairperson and commissioners shall serve for a term of 5 years, renewable once. According to the bill, the commission, that's the NIGEC, shall operate independently, free from external influence and interference, and the commission shall have its budget approved by the National Assembly to ensure financial independence. It also states that on the independence and its autonomy, it shall have its own budget approved by the Senate. I have emphasized that, and it also stipulates that the Commission shall develop and implement procedures for voter registration, candidate nomination, and conduct of elections. And it shall also ensure the provision of necessary electoral materials and logistics for smooth conduct of elections. Then on the timeline of election, it stipulates that it shall announce the election schedule at least 6 months before the conduct of the election. Elections for the offices of local government chairman and councillors shall be conducted every 4 years. Some of these, just some highlights, we'll look at them further. But generally, is there a desirability for the creation of a local government independent electoral commission as this bill is proposing?
Absolutely no.
Okay.
Absolutely no. First of all, Nigeria runs a federal system. That's what people in the National Assembly should know. And the federation is between the central government, like I said before, and the state governments. Now, the Constitution at the moment subsumes the powers of the local governments under the states. I think that's acceptable everywhere. Even in the best federal practice, which is said to be America, of course, local governments, which are the counties, are not part of the federation. Their powers are also subsumed under those of the states. And so, you cannot then, in fact, the discussion before then was for INEC to assume they take over the the conduct of elections in the local government. That is wrong. And then to cap it all and to make it even more disgusting, if I would use the word, is to say that you're going to create a separate electoral commission for elections. So it is wrong at 2 levels. Like I've said, that's the first one, that the central government has no business conducting elections in local government councils, no business whatsoever. And secondly, even if they're going to do that, then why do you need to create another body? The proposed bill even says that body would do voter registration. The INEC does voter registration, and then it has a database. So why would you go and do voter registration again? These things will even increase the cost of governance. These are the kind of things we don't even look at. And increasingly, people who are in position in this country don't even know the basics. Go to that National Assembly and ask them how many of them even know what is called federalism. And what Nigeria is a federal. They don't even know that. And so my thinking is that it's just another way of running away from the problem. And then imagine that they can just keep making laws. Of course, they think their own work is to make laws. And so the other program talked about this country being a country of so many laws, and yet laws are not being implemented. So somebody thinks because his work is to make laws, and then so you bring in a bill. Perhaps you could count that as own achievement at the end of it all. And there's absolutely no need for all that. I think the discussion would continue. Perhaps I'll say a few more things as we go on.
Okay, but I would like you to speak on this a bit more before I'll come to you, Engineer Orduen. When you mentioned that it is wrong for even the proposal for INEC, that is not the NIGEC that is being proposed now, to take over conduct of the election. What if there is an amendment to the Constitution to accommodate INEC on that?
It is still wrong. That's what I'm saying. Where perhaps then you need to do away with the federal structure that we have in this country. That's the fundamental amendment that you need to make. As long as Nigeria remains a federation with 2 federating units, you cannot do that. And again, the Constitution provides that we are a federation, so any change to the Constitution that involves the states then needs to involve them. Any change that involves a fundamental change to the federal structure needs to involve the states. If you want to create states, for example, then all other states need to know and accept. In fact, the process of creating states, for example, is so cumbersome. First of all, you need to have a proposal from the people who want the state to be created. The proposal needs to be debated in the House of Assembly from the state in which out of which the new state needs to be created. Then this is taken to the entire country and all other houses of assembly. And they also need to accept by two-thirds majority before you take the proposal to the National Assembly, which also needs to accept by two-thirds majority. And so in the same way, any change that is going to alter the existing federal powers needs to have the consent of the states. So even this thing I talked about needs to be taken to the states for them to accept that you can take the powers of conducting local government election away from the states and create a separate body to do it.
Well, usually I'm aware that the process of constitutional amendment or certain bills go through concurrence involving 36 states legislatures for them to give a concurrence before the Senate moves ahead with it. So what if that approach is adopted?
Then you'll be sure that it won't go through. You'll be sure it won't go through even if those in the National Assembly don't know, then those in the states should know that Nigeria runs a federation, and that's the only way you can really have a federation. The people we copied it from, like I've talked about America, it is not done that way. And of course, they have a good practice that we can actually learn from. And so that would be wrong for you to take away the powers of continuing local government elections from the states. In any case, the federation, like I've said before, is between two levels of government. And so the powers of local governments are supposed to be subsumed, and of course they have to be subsumed under the states. And so you can't take away the powers to conduct elections into local councils away from the states and say you're going to create a separate body. So like I've said before, it's wrong on two levels. First, that shouldn't be done. And secondly, that you can't have a separate body doing that. You would unnecessarily increase the cost of governance in this country.
All right. Engineer Orduen.
Yes. What Prof has said.
Weighing on this, the conduct of local government elections, this busy.
The National Assembly wants to be busy. The conduct of local government election is absolutely a state affairs, because the states are not conducting elections for INEC. And so they cannot take the powers away of conducting. They're in control of the national resources. They send it to the local governments. The states will also have to supervise because they are the next body. So the issue of conducting elections by even the National Electoral Commission that is present is absolutely very wrong. Talk less of trying to create a body that is just a duplication of the system. I think the National Assembly is looking for a way to also get appointments for people, because the entire data used for conducting of local government elections is provided by INEC. And so the data is already there. It is always revalidated. So I want to tell you clearly that what the local government has been looking for has been got, which is they want to be in control of the finances that are coming to them. It is not a matter of trying to take away the entire thing from the state. And today, if a local government chairman will walk to the governor and say we have a security issue, and the governor says, no, we're not part of you again, go and meet the federal government, you know how bad and how deadly it's going to be. If there is a body, it must be checked. The local governments have been checked by the states. The federal government checks the states. And that's why Prof is saying we have a federation. Only two bodies. You don't come to intrude. And if this comes to the state assemblies, for that, I want to tell you that 2/3 of the state assemblies in Nigeria will reject that proposal. I will authoritatively say it in the studios because I'm also in Nigeria. You don't come and pack somebody's load at once. You reduce it. It's better for you. And the states have the powers, and they're the ones looking after local governments. The local governments are residing within the states. And therefore, the issue of conduct of election is absolutely the business of the states. What the federal government needs to do is that legislate on these matters. Send them in a way that it will go in line with what the governors and the federal government will sit align. But for The purpose of our program, the state's electoral commissions should be given their rights to conduct their elections.
All right, dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you've been listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makudi. We are discussing the move by the Senate to establish local government electoral commission. Leading the discussion here in the studio, I have with me a former resident electoral commissioner of INEC in Kogi State, currently a professor in the Department of Political Science at the Benue State University, Makudi Professor James Apam. And also with us is a former chairman of Ushongo Local Government Council in Benue State, Engineer Terver Orduen. You can participate later at 10 o'clock by calling in on 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Send us an SMS or a chat on WhatsApp to 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. Please include your name and where you are sending the message from. You may also listen to us by logging onto our website on www.igetradiotv.com. Also follow our social media pages on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. We're available on all these platforms to serve you. If you have your Radio Garden app device on any app on any device at all, you can listen to Agate Radio. Also, download the radio app, the Agate Radio and TV app on Apple, Google Play Store, and also other platforms. You can download that and listen to as the app is there to serve you as well. Prof, in the course of your analysis on this subject matter, and your colleague, your co-discussant, Engineer Orduen actually pointed out that the state independent electoral commissions rely on the data, and you also stated some earlier, rely on the data from INEC to conduct elections. So if the state independent electoral commissions are relying on the data of INEC, which is a creation of the federal government, what is wrong with having a local government, a national one with national configuration that will generate its own data for the conduct of elections?
Those are two different things. Those are two different things. There's no point really if you already have the data that you also want to go and generate yours. And so it saves cost for the state electoral commissions to depend on what the Federal Electoral Commission has. It is perfectly in place. I remember when I was in the Electoral Commissioner for Kogi State, we helped the State Electoral Commission to give them the voters' registers. Of course, we gave them in soft form for them to go and print. We also even gave them voting boxes. We also even gave them the cubicles that we used to place the boxes in. And then what else did we give them? Well, of course, we didn't release our voting machines to them. That one, of course, is good. We don't want that to be tampered with. And so we gave them most of the things they needed. And that saved them a lot of cost. They don't even have to go and conduct voter registration, which takes a lot of time and money to do. And then you can have lots of inaccuracies too. They also depended on our voting units. So to conduct elections, that saves a lot of cost. There's no point going to do those things all over again. Even now in the other areas, states also still depend on federal agencies for one thing or the other, which is okay. That's the kind of cooperation that needs to be between the two federating units. So that's how it should be done. And let me also add that the people in power should accept the basic fact that Nigeria is a federation, and we adopted this as far back as the colonial period in 1954 in the Litigation Constitution. And our leaders at that time accepted it. And that was the only way Nigeria could be kept together as one nation. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Alhaji Tafawa Balewa, and Sir Ahmadu Bello all accepted it. And that is what has managed to keep us together. At least through that, we now have states. Beginning with the origins in the First Republic. Now we have states that are also able to elect their own leaders and practice, have some little deviations from the established norms of the nation. So that has to be maintained. In America, for example, even the federal elections are conducted by states. If, for example, you're going to have elections as are going to have in November, the elections are conducted in the states in the offices of what they call the Secretary of State for the state. That's something like, I think something like a SSG. So the SSG's office would organize elections and conduct elections that could even have a practice in this country. So that the SSG's office could even organize elections for the presidential election as well as the National Assembly elections. Of course, maybe it's too early for us to talk about that, but that's what happens elsewhere, and they're doing it very well. And so the point I'm trying to make is that you always would want to move towards the perfection of a system instead of trying to withdraw from it. Going back to having a different electoral commission to conduct elections is like withdrawing from the federal system that we've adopted, which has kept this country together over time. In spite of its imperfections. And so we need to work towards perfecting it.
Okay, what if the creation of the local government is the Senate may be looking at it as part of efforts to strengthen the imperfections of the federal structure?
No. It's a withdrawal from the attempt to perfect it. Because it's like going back. You don't go backwards. You go forwards. So if there are imperfections, we need to work towards making it much more perfect. Because the federal system says that local governments are subsumed under the powers of the state governments. Though that's not to say that they should be taking local governments' money or monies. And also says then that electoral commissions should be established for the conduct of the elections in local government councils. And so it's like that is why I said even going forward in future, we should even be working towards a situation where the offices of the SSGs or whatever in the states can even conduct federal elections, as happens in America. Perhaps it's too early for us to talk about that, but I think it's what we should be looking forward to. These things not only reduce the cost of governance, they also build confidence into the system.
All right, Engineer Orduen, it has been the argument of many that the state electoral commissions that are responsible for the conduct of local government elections, oftentimes they conduct selections and not elections. How do you react to this as a former council chairman yourself?
Yes, what you have said cannot be brought to the plain paper. It's an assumption. But then to some extent, since the ruling parties have interest, they have always done one or two things. That's where I think we should be trying to strengthen. We have finished at the Supreme Court. If they are going to make laws, it should be laws that will be strengthening the system. I want to tell you in the studio that by what I have seen...
Maybe you don't look at the establishment of the local government commission as one of the laws strengthening the system?
I do. I think what I want to tell you is...
Yes.
Just like Prof has said, he has been very vast. He has worked at a higher level at the Independent National Electoral Commission. You can't take the powers of the conduct of local government elections away from the states. That is to collapse federalism completely. The Constitution gives them the power to do that. And therefore, we cannot just assume. Our people have this formula that once the particular political power has won elections, it is now it is now suitable for them to win elections in such political parties and use the ideologies of the party to build on the local government. And therefore, immediately somebody wins a governorship election in the state, you see people decamping, going to one political party or the other, with a belief that, okay, it is only that political party that can win local government election. Other minor political parties begin to scare away and write letters of withdrawal that we have withdrawn from election. It happened in the state here when the current Secretary to Government of the Federation was governor. UNPP won election in constitutional local government. There was nothing wrong with that. And when I got to the studio, he was explaining the situation in Kaduna. El-Rufai had tested the waters And if the governors will have the mind, then let's allow play level field for our people to express their will, they will be strengthening democracy. It is a minus on the governors to be perpetrating such issues and taking control of local government at all points. That's why before the autonomy arrived, the new governor made a pronouncement. I was only waiting to see if really the autonomy he pronounced was financial. Then came the judgment of the Supreme Court. So I think here in Benue, we are only watching to see what is going to happen at the local government elections. Because from his words and from his reactions and from the way he had hailed the judgment, I want to tell you that all political parties should go and stand election. Let us see what is going to happen. This is the first experiment after the Supreme Court judgment. And if anything is done that we do otherwise, I think the governors will also have an integrity issues. So it is time for all political parties to deviate from the main agenda of once they have won the governorship seats, they are going to win the local government seats. Go out openly, buy your forms, go to the field. If the people will give you that mandate, why not? It has happened elsewhere. Even in Benue, it has happened. And I see that sometimes it is we, the political class, that wear the system down, accusing those in position of leadership. Go to your polling booth. If they did not bring any ballot box, you have the right to report. You have the right to go on. I'm happy I'm sitting with somebody who has been in the very top electoral body in the state, serving at that level. There must be bottlenecks, but barriers are always being broken. So I want to tell you clearly that it would be wrong for us to sit in the studio and assume it is the electorate who have decided to bring that formula. And therefore, if the governors will not want to conduct elections very well, power belongs to the people. And we must make sure that we go to our polling. Some people, even on that election day, they don't go to polling units. They say, no. They will just go and announce. So if you say they will just go and announce, you are giving them the opportunity to announce. So I think that's the best way to go. Let us all join in the crusade of a proper and well-conducted local government elections.
All right, maybe the experiment of Benue, which you pointed out, I should draw you back to the autonomy issue, which you mentioned also about the governor. For instance, the Supreme Court ordered an immediate compliance with the ruling. But you are aware that in Benue at the moment, we still have caretaker chairmen who are superintending over the third tier of government. Does that speak well of our state, or maybe our governor, with regards to his keying into direction of local government autonomy?
Well, after a judgment has been given, there are stages of implementing the judgment. The states have to be served. The Attorney General, Commissioner for Justice, will liaise with the Attorney General of the Federation. All the preliminaries will be finished. A pronouncement is different from an implementation.
It's a ruling, not
yes.
just a mere pronouncement.
Yes, a ruling
yes.
has a procedure.
A verdict that has been given by the apex court of the land.
And that's what I'm saying. That once a ruling is, it takes days, it takes time. This is like a transition program. It will also get to that point. The Supreme Court says, at this particular time, monies that are meant for the local government should be sent to them, and the states that have no elected officials should not take the money. It is the federal government that sends the money. It is not the state. They will do the needful, and we will see how the governors will react. It is the federal government. The money is in custody of the Federal Ministry of Finance, who will now deploy the money not to the states again. These monies will be sent. And by now, I know that they will be taking data of states that do not have elected local government chairmen. And if Benue does not have until the time of the implementation. But between now and the time of implementation, if the governor does anything well, I think that would be okay. Because you can go to court. You have 3 months within which to appeal a judgment. And sometimes in the Supreme Court is the final court
of the land, which is
yes.
exactly what I wanted to.
I want to tell you that even in the Supreme Court, sometimes people ask for interpretation of their judgments. We have not seen that move. You don't know whether the state governors are quiet and they are trying to make sure that that judgment be interpreted to them very well. And once it goes back to the Supreme Court, monies can still be sent to the local government account until that interpretation matter is over. So for now, those who have said we have given you autonomy will also go stage by stage. We will reach the stage you are also saying. Happily, the states are not in charge of these monies. So let us see what the Attorney General of the Federation and the Ministry of Finance will come out with. And then we'll see the reactions of the governors if they have to do the needful immediately.
Anyway, the governors, maybe I should state it clear, by my research, at least 23 states of the Federation are, with the Supreme Court ruling, are jostling for the conduct of elections.
Yeah.
And also, the Nigeria Governors Forum, after the ruling, its chairman, Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak of Kwara State, did said a burden is actually lifted off their shoulders, that
yes.
people don't know how much they bail the local government out. One is wondering whether they were carrying the burden all along, but never spoke out until the ruling came. But that's, by the way, Prof, on the issue of the conduct of it.
We're not. Let me just say something about what Honorable Orduen has just said.
Okay.
And then even your own comment. The governors cannot say a burden has been taken off them. It is when you put the local governments together that the states exist.
Yeah.
And so what else do the governors do if not to worry about what happens in local government areas? And so it's not about the burden being taken. And they can't deny the fact that over time, most of them have been appropriating the money spent for local governments. They've been doing that almost everywhere. And again, my thinking is that the manner in which they are hurrying to conduct elections also means that they're simply going to select people and put them there just to try and meet a deadline for the court ruling. So the court ruling, of course, once the court rules, it becomes a law.
Yeah.
But if the ruling is also advisory to some extent. And that is why they also need to sit up and make sure that we have democratically elected councils in place. But of course, the hurry with which they are going about means that we simply going to have people selected. Perhaps in Benue State too, the elections is going to be in November, and I wouldn't be surprised that maybe today the State Electoral Commission would come out to announce that we're going to have elections next month, that they are already completed arrangements for us to have elections, and then that could be hurriedly done. Then the lists that are prepared from the parties would then be read out. I'm sorry, I'm not saying they're going to do that, but I'm afraid that that could also be done, as is probably being done in some other state, just to try and meet up the deadline that was given by the Supreme Court for elected constitutions to be in place. So that's what we need to be careful of. We need to be careful about truly accepting democratic norms. It helps everyone. And the people in power should also understand these things even better than the rest of us who are at the receiving end.
All right. It's about time. Let's engage with those listening to us. If you're just tuning in, the program is Perspectives on iGate Radio. We are discussing the Senate's move to establish local government electoral commission. Leading the discussion is a former resident electoral commissioner of INEC in Kogi State and former head of Department Political Science at the Benue State University, lecturer in that department at the moment, Professor James Apam, the former chairman of Ushongo Local Government Council in Benue State. Engineer Terver Orduen is also a discussant of the program. But call us on 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, we would like to know your name and where you're calling us from. Then make your submission very brief. send us an SMS or a chat on WhatsApp to 0912-699-9404. Log on to our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to the program and other Agate Radio content as well. If you have your Radio Garden app on any device at all, you can listen to Agate Radio. Also, download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store to listen to us from any part of the world. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Perspectives.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you people doing there?
I am fine. We are doing fine. What's your name and where are you reaching us from?
Mr. Weba Nongu, calling from Makudi, Benue State.
Okay, which part of Makudi Nongu, Weba?
Ugondo Mbakia.
Okay, good to know. Please, go ahead, please.
The Supreme Court ruling is a welcome development because people living in the local government, they are the people that need to be taken care of. So I urge each and every governor to please key into the idea of the.
Hello, Andongo. Okay, we lost connection with Andongo, so quite unfortunate. We'll go along. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Nat.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Just in the studio.
Good morning.
Thank you.
There is the voice of Mark Anwangele, father, Local government.
Okay, Mark, speak
Thank
to
you
us.
so much. Yeah. You know, the move from the Senate to establish a local government electoral commission is a welcome development. You know, after the court ruling about the local government autonomy, this was our complaint that there is a need that the local government electoral commission should be created so that it will totally allow the state to have an interfere on local government elections in terms of political regime. So, if the local government electoral commission is being created, I think they will be in charge of controlling or conducting the local government election. And I think it will be more smooth than if the state INEC still has the right to conduct the local government election. If you see, people in the rural areas can only be access to local government programs or benefits through local government administration. But it has been a long time that the rural communities are not even knowing what is going on in terms of democratic ruling, just because the state hijacked the activities of the local government. But it is the way as we are in a democratic ruling, I think this will be the key to the local government to be responsible if they fail to do the right thing at the right time. If the local government annex is there, I think the local government has the full authority to do everything of their own in terms of election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for your opinion. Mark is fully in support of the creation of local government electoral commission as moved by the Senate. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Thank you so much. My name is Right Comrade Titus Apam. I'm calling from Makudi, North Band to be precise.
Okay, Titus Pen, join us. Thank you for joining us.
I keenly followed the conversation between my teacher, Professor James Apam, and of course my contemporaries, former chairman of Ushongo, Terver, Orduen. But I completely want to disagree with their summation. There's nothing wrong for the federal government, particularly the Senate, trying to introduce or establish a local government electoral commission. The only point I can advise the Senate to do is, instead of introducing another commission to man the affairs of the local conduct of the local government, it should be responsibility of the existing INEC rather than trying to create another. But for the discussants in the studio telling us that already BSEC, for example, in Benue, BSEC has been saddled the responsibility, and so they should be given there should not be interference in their responsibility. To me, they have failed us over time. Imagine in Benue, election will be conducted, and then about 276 council wards and 23 chairmen will be won by one party. It's rare you see federal conducting election and you see such, victories on one side of the party. So there's nothing wrong, allowing INEC to conduct the election. Moreover, they have mentioned in the studio there that BSEC and other states that do conduct local government election do collect data from the INEC. And so there's no basis leaving them with the responsibility. One, they don't have data. The data they use in conducting election, they borrow from the INEC. So allow the INEC take charge of the responsibility of conducting local government election so that there will be fairness.
All right.
But allowing the state to conduct the local government, they will still have the ways of manipulating it. I remember when Buhari attempted use the executive order to introduce the local government autonomy. The state governor was still going, through the back door to collect this money from the council chairman. In the name you are not elected, do this or we'll sack you. So if you still allow the state governor to be in the, provide the resources to conduct the local government election through BSEC, they will still appoint whoever they want to appoint. Right. There will not be credible election.
Okay.
So my opinion is the INEC should be given the responsibility to conduct the local government election where people's opinions and votes will be counted. All right. That's my submission. Thank you so much.
It should be INEC and not establishing a new local government electoral commission.
It's duplication of function.
All right.
Leave INEC with the responsibility.
All right.
There has been a yearning that INEC takes over. So why introduce another body?
Thank you.
INEC already has the existing data polling unit, Kibuku, and all this has been mentioned by Professor Apam. So there is no need in introducing another commission. Allow the commission that is on ground to take charge.
Thank you, Titus Pam. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for your opinion. This is the beauty of democracy, diversity of opinion. But Prof, you are itching to say something concerning this, so I will allow you briefly.
Yeah,
let me beg your pardon to engage with this caller.
Okay.
Then I'll come back to you.
Okay,
good morning.
Hello, good morning. Nathaniel.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives. We are listening to you. Make your submission to us.
It's okay. Thank you so much for the topic. I think the Supreme Court judgment is timely, and I wish to say that it has been our desire that elections be conducted by a separate body apart from the state government, because what we have seen over time is that governments of the various states ensure that they must win election by all means. So sometimes when we begin to discuss Nigeria issue in comparison with America and all of those other countries that are doing very well, I think we'll be getting it wrong because we are not thinking like Americans. So we have to think in our own way so that we will bring a solution to our own problems. Let INEC conduct elections, local government elections, and no other duplication of bringing another body, separate body to conduct elections. That's my submission. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Corner, to do it for your submission. All right. Prof, briefly, please.
Yeah, Titus and Corner, I understand your concerns. Actually, the concerns that are shared by many people in this country. But like I said before, you don't run away from a problem to solve it. We know where the problem lies. Basically, we just need to understand what the issues at stake are. We agreed to have a federal system in this country, hoping that once you do that, power would be dispersed to different levels of different levels of governance, and the people can truly have a say in how they are governed. That was why we accepted it. And accepting that then means that we cannot always have a central body conducting elections at all levels. Even the INEC is not perfect. We've had worries about what the INEC also does, haven't we? We've had them over time. And so how then does it look like INEC would then conduct elections that would be perfect, which of course we hope that they should be perfect. But then it does not also mean that INEC will be doing virtually everything. practice makes perfect. Since you've devolved power to other levels of governance, then of course you should also let those levels of governance practice what they should be doing. The corner talked about copying other systems. Of course, you need to copy systems that are good. That is why, as a teacher, as a lecturer, I even teach a course called Comparative Federalism. And I've always taught students that first we accepted the federal practice as the best for us, considering the fact that we are multicultural, we have so many ethnic groups, so many religious groups and all that in this country. So that's why power needed to be dispersed to other levels of governance, to the subnational units. And so, once you have those subnational units, they're also supposed to do certain things for themselves at that level. And then we also learn from this same federal practice where it's been done very well. So we're not saying we'll copy everything that America or Canada or others have done, but of course we can also learn from what they have done and see how we can also perfect our own systems here. And what they've done, of course, in this regard is good, so why not copy it and try and do it in our own way? Of course, I agree that we could do it in our own way. So the understanding needs to be there basically. Most people, like I've said, I understand their concerns, but of course, their own understanding is also not as it should be for them to really appreciate what needs to be done in this country. So we need to be careful about that too.
All right, so the line is still open. Okay, Engineer Orduen, maybe I will allow you to also chip in a word briefly because Titus Pem was quite categorical in this, having a dissenting opinion entirely from what you and Prof have been stating concerning the issue. So are there some concerns you want to address from?
Yes, in Nigeria, INEC was also accused many times of rigged elections. The likes of Professor Morris, all those times. It wasn't until Haji Atahiru Jega came, brought reforms.
But I'll beg your pardon to interrupt you briefly because we have several people that have been waiting on the line. Let me engage with them briefly, then I'll come back to you. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Okay. My name is Mike Gadi.
Okay.
I'm calling from Gadi Layout.
Okay, Gadi Layout here in Makude. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, I want to talk about the local government election. I think another body should be given opportunity to do this election. I give this reason because permit me to use this. INEC have failed us. Permit me to say that we give another body so that we'll give it a try and see if that works for us. We'll adapt to that. So I think giving another body to do this election will help us. And the second one is I want to ask the question: isn't there any way we can strategize what to mitigate this issue of election problems every time there is election problem where you will be later asked to go to court? There should be something we have to do. We should think of to strategize on how we can have something to mitigate all these problems that come during,
maybe
after, and before election.
I should ask that we should start thinking with you. What do you think should be the solution beyond going to the courts?
Well, and there should be a way where, for instance, if an election is going on and then there is a problem somewhere, the election can be paused and that matter can be looked into before the election will be further.
Okay, would that be
I can give an example. Yes, I can give an example. During the presidential elections, where we had issues, complaints from polling units and everywhere, but the election still went on. We were supposed to pause and look into the matter. If the election has to be postponed or there's supposed to be a solution to that particular problem before the election continues, yeah, it's better because sometimes it's go to court. It's just it's now a normal thing. Like anybody can do anything wrong and they say go to court.
All right. Mike, thank you. I have discussants here, so I will allow them to also speak to your concern.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for calling in. All right. Engineer Orduen, I'm so sorry to have interrupted you. Please react to the concerns briefly. They will take more calls and go to more issues.
When INEC was created for the conduct of all elections in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at a particular point, people lost confidence in INEC, that they have been rigging here and there, this one here and there. It came to a man who decided, let me reform the system. And Atahiru Jega came with his reforms that conducted election that was near a perfect election. Political parties won elections, everybody won election on every platforms. What I think the Constitution has given BSEC, the State Electoral Commissions, the powers to conduct this election. We must go through a constitutional amendment, which will also cost us. And I think if that we have to go through a constitution to conduct an election, if you remove the powers just like that, the governors will fight back. Because it now becomes a constitutional matter. It's not that people have perceived that, okay, it is now that INEC is better than state electoral commissions. And I think that tomorrow, people will be elected, will be appointed into the state electoral commissions. They will decide that, look, let us reform this system. Let us make sure that it's no longer business as usual. I know the angle from which our discussants are coming from. The entire thing is to make sure that the governors have no hands again in the local government system.
So wouldn't you want that?
I will. It has gone through a court process. It will also go through a constitutional process. Constitutional amendment. Because it is not their right again. You understand? They had the right. It was withdrawn. And therefore, the fact that the governors have always had control over local government elections, people are very angry. And the basis, they are not looking at the basis. If today you say, no, electoral commissions go, they will like that. But then they have not looked deep into the whole thing.
Hello. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you, sir.
Graham.
Thank you, sir. I thanks to your discussion there. They have done a very wonderful job. I'm very satisfied with them. You see, conduct of a local government election. I listened to a news this morning when they appoint a woman as the chairman of state INEC in Kaduna. The opposition party now go against it. He said it has already been planned. Election has already been won. It's already announced. So those are kind of things we're experienced with the past years if those elections are under the state control. So what we are saying now, we are not saying that wake up one day and say state electoral commission, bam. We are not saying so. You should go back to constitution, follow the constitutional processes, like the Senate are saying a different body. Like I don't know how perfect is that electoral process, different body is going to be. But no, and the NJ we don't know. Go back to the constitutional processes, follow it, amend our constitution, retrieve the power from the state, and give it to the INEC. The INEC can go ahead and conduct the local government election. Then let's see what will happen at that level. If we can endure with the INEC in conducting the National Assembly, governors, and other things, we can still endure with them in that local government. But to allow the state again, which means at any day in, day out, rain, sunshine, every time there's an election in the state, just agree that the ruling party will talk over everything. No, it's not going down well with us at all.
All right.
So they should go ahead and give INEC the power, retrieve the power from the state INEC through the constitutional processes and give it to INEC. Let them do it and let us see.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jairus. Thank you for your contribution. All right. It does appear Nigerians generally have confidence in INEC to conduct better local government elections, even though they have reservations about national elections that INEC conducts. But hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you. This is Engineer Augustine Iki, calling from North Bank,
Okay.
Makodi.
All right. We're listening to you, Engineer Austin.
Actually, the submission of the discussant in the studio is strictly based on principle, not necessarily anybody's sentiment. They are saying this thing is a federal system, and this is the way it is done anywhere. So, if there are deviations, we have deviated from the federal system in other ways, we should return back to them in the way we define our own federal system, in essence. Now, what I want to state is that I'm not really interested in whether INEC is conducting the election, whether the state independent election is conducting it, or a new body is conducting it. I'm of the opinion that we should go into online voting. It's until we're able to come to online voting, any other voting that requires end of the day. So, me, I'm an advocate of online voting where somebody can comfortably sit at the comfort of his home and cast his vote from his mobile device. So that is what I'm championing. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Engineer Ike Augustine. Thank you. And I design such things, so I know it is not easily manipulated.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you for your opinion.
Thank you.
All right. Prof, I will request you to respond to Mike Gardy, who was asking us, aren't there any other better ways to ventilate electoral grievances beyond going to the court? He even mentioned instances that when elections are suspected to be not to be going correctly, they should be stopped. You've been a former resident electoral commissioner. Is there any
there are actually no better ways of doing that. The current Electoral Act gives the INEC the powers to even cancel some elections and look into the results before announcing them. I don't know how much that power was exercised in the last general election or even governorship elections in some states. But I think even that was questioned actually by some lawyers, that giving the INEC those powers to review some election results was also not going to be lawful or democratic enough, and that the law courts actually should have the powers to review election results once petitions are taken before them. Because in the past, when politicians say announce and let them go to court, they knew that in the past the INEC had no powers over any results the moment the returning officer announced them. But then the current Electoral Act gives the INEC those powers to do that, so they can exercise to some extent. But like I've said before, they also being questioned somewhere by certain lawyers. So I think the courts should actually do the duty. That is if the courts would not fail us as they seem to have failed us thus far. Because the courts actually should remain the last hope. Even coming to local government elections, the problem is that people have lost so much confidence that some wouldn't even care to go to courts to question how the elections are conducted at the local level. And like Honorable Orduen said, some would not even turn up to vote, parties would not even care to present candidates for elections, thinking that even if they do, there's going to be an exercise in futility. But so that is actually a very sad commentary on the way in which elections are conducted in this country. And that's what we still need to go back to and start thinking about that. And I did talk about people's consciousness being raised much more, everyone's consciousness being raised on us to work towards doing the right thing as time goes on.
All right. We hope that the consciousness should be raised. But Engineer Orduen, do you, at the local government level where the conduct of the election has been proposed by this bill for a commission in Benue, let's talk about the Benue experience. The November polls are coming up. The BSEC has told us elections in Benue will be conducted November 16. In the light of these peculiarities, with the Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy and now a bill in place seeking the creation of National Independent Electoral Commission, what are those peculiar things that you want the BISEC to look into with regards to conducting poll that would be acceptable by all people?
What we are talking about is public enlightenment. People have lost confidence in the state electoral commissions. They should go out, tell the people we are doing a credible elections. Political parties should brace up. It should not be that you're thinking that we are coming to rig elections for the ruling parties. Public enlightenment is very low. Just like I've told you, if it is local government elections in Benue, you won't even know that something is going on. Because people will be going to their farms. If you ask them the kind of nasty things, if a political party wins elections, is at the polling unit, you announce it. And if political parties begin to win elections like that, people will begin to regain conscience. But in a situation whereby somebody is in PDP, people believe that for the state electoral commissions to be conducting election, there must be an overturn. And I think it is even the public that are working against the commission. You don't go to a process and then you complain about it. Even people who want to go will tell them, if I go, what will I do? How will you be thinking like that? It is proper that you go to your polling unit. The social media is now very powerful. And then you meet no ballot box, you report. And if it does not do, it is what will discredit the commission. So if you just put it straight that you don't have any confidence, that at a particular time, Nigerians did not have confidence in INEC. Suddenly, look at us in the studio, and all Benue people and Nigerians calling for the election. There was something that was done that today they have the confidence. And I think that even the electoral commissions, if something is done, the people will still restore the confidence. Because it is the president that appoints the national resident electoral commissioner. Jonathan had lost elections in Nigeria by somebody his government appointed. He accepted defeat clearly. And today, he's being named as one of those people who have brought Nigeria. Because the tension that mounted on the Buhari-Jonathan election was capable of collapsing this country. And he saw that, look, if I do this thing, Nigeria should not collapse in my hands.
So others should follow Jonathan's example.
Yes, others should follow Jonathan. And I'll be happy if the state governor, who had announced an autonomy of the local government, who has set up an independent electoral commission, giving them all the apparatus to go and work, and you know the constituency he is coming from. It's a constituency he has to respect. And therefore, even in Benue, we're expecting that. I will call on the government of the state, we'll call on the Electoral Commission to restore the confidence. Because what we have seen in the studio, and we're hearing now, is that the entire Benue people do not have confidence that something good will come out of the state commissions. And I think those who are listening to this program will report to the appropriate quarters that the people are thinking that it is business as usual and we will not go this way. So I think that's what I've gotten in the studio here. So we appeal to our listeners, we also appeal to our discussants that this is coming at the right time and at the right place, and then we will see the reaction of the governors on this particular elections. Jonathan was a president. He had every apparatus to have cancelled that election, but he saw Nigeria above his personal interest. And I think once those who are in the corridors of power begins to see the people's plight more than theirs, we will be moving. Today, those who insulted Jonathan have been calling him hero of democracy. He has been sent to many countries to mediate on electoral issues because he did the right thing. He has the right to go and tell the president that, look, oh, your people do not want you again. So please, give way. Let us move towards a United States of Africa. That's what is happening. So what I have to tell people who are listening to us is that don't discard the electoral commissions. It is you who will treat. If you go to your polling unit and the commission sends anybody who is doing something wrong, you need to push up. And when the tension mounts, the people, even the commission, and those who want to control it, we know that if we do this thing, it is going to be at the detriment of our democracy. So what the commission, the big work that the commission has to do now is to go all out to all the local governments, address the traditional institution, the Christian community, the political class, that we are doing an election. Don't go away. Come to your polling units. 2 days to the elections, the materials are there and are being deployed to the areas. When people begin to see this thing, you see on the day of election, by 2 p.m., you see some polling agents carrying boxes on machine. After 1 or 2 hours, they are walking away. You don't see in some polling units. So what the people are also saying on the radio here, to restore the confidence of the people on the Electoral Commission, because they have the constitutional right to conduct this election, and nobody can take it away from them. Except we say that, okay, there's a judgment, let us wait, and then go through a constitutional amendment and clean up the system, which are the bottlenecks I told you about the Supreme Court judgment. Then it begins to process. If the federal government does not send money to caretaker chairman to pay the local government, tension will also start mounting at the local government. The local government staffs, you cannot explain to them why their money is not there. And the state does not have that kind of money. So I call on the federal government to have also, though the Supreme Court has a judgment, it is an apparatus of the government. They should have structured it such that the time limit of, okay, we know that you still have caretaker chairman. We have given you 3 months within which to conduct election, even though we have passed a judgment. These are gentlemen agreements that are being made. They are everywhere. Till today, the federal government is discussing minimum wage. But then...
Okay, I will interrupt you at that point, Engineer Orduen. Let's engage with people, many people waiting on the line, and then I will come back to Prof. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you very much. I'm Cholomon Akahan calling from Ugondu Medalia Phase 2.
Okay, we are listening to you, Cholomon Akahan.
First of all, I want to greet my senior in the studio, former chairman of Ushongo local government.
Thank you very much, Cholomon.
Mr. Orduen, and the former INEC boss that is in the studio.
Thank you.
My opinion on this thing is that I have listened to the two people in the studio very well, but I have totally disagree with the issue of federalism. You know, we have suffered so much on the issue of local government in Nigeria and in our state here. You see, in my own local government in Kogi, where I come from, I used to see the development. All those things have gone completely. So, my dad contested election during the SDP NRC era. Elections were conducted by national body of the INEC. Why is it that our people are telling us today that INEC cannot conduct elections? Any elections left with state governors, none of these elections will be conducted properly. They will have to impose people. This is where the state governors steal funds and then they talk and do everything they want to do. So if we want to move on, I think the only thing we can do is rely on our people. We have levels of government, we have the federal, we have the state, and we have this thing. All this federation they are talking about, I don't understand. So if we have a judgment of the Supreme Court today, and then we know that we can do it, let's go ahead and do it. When my dad contested, that was in 1991 or 1992, elections were conducted by INEC. It was after the Governor George Akume, that's their tenure, that local government elections, they went to Supreme Court and local government were returned to the state. So what happened? What happened that time? That elections were conducted by INEC, and today They are telling us federation, that they cannot, this thing cannot be taken away. I hope the Senate of Nigeria have the powers to do that. They can do it.
Okay.
But you can be mindful of the fact that.
All right. Thank you, Tiolomo.
The state assemblies are also here.
It's all right. Okay, let's take some messages. When we come back, we'll engage on more issues. This one said, good morning. My question is, okay, I don't think I'll take that message because there's no name to it. So it's not usual of us to take such messages. This one says, good morning, I get radio and a guest in the studio. The establishment of local government financial autonomy by the Apex Court and the National Assembly trying to establish the local government independent electoral commission is a thing of joy. But again, the state governors will still have powers over the process. The elected local government chairman will still be candidates of the governors. So, will this stop the governors from still having control over the chairman? No. Local government funds will still be misappropriated. First things first. Part of the constitution that has to do with the local government should be amended first before establishing the state, establishing the local government electoral commission. I pray this autonomy goes well at the grassroots level of the states. Shadrach, on fire from high level. Shadrach, thank you for sending in your contribution. Good morning to you and the guests. Local government autonomy is a welcome development. But I want the legislators to go further and harmonize the timing of the 3 elections and duration of local government chairman and councillor clearly stated. We need governance to reach the grassroots level. Cole Ephraim from Welfare Quarters in Makudi. Thank you, Cole, for your opinion as well. Another one here says, good morning, I get radio. I am E.T. Terver Abraham from behind Federal Low Cost here in North Bank, Makudi. For me, the INEC in place should be empowered to conduct local government elections than establishing another electoral empire which may utilize public funds that should be used to improve national infrastructure. All right, thank you, ETTV. Engineer Engr Vitalis from North Bank. If the local government have been given financial autonomy, why are the governors insisting on conducting elections? Are they going to use the state money to do that or borrow from councils to conduct the elections? My submission is allow INEC to conduct the elections. All right, thank you, INEC. Vitalis. The governors are not insisting. Is the Senate moving a bill, proposing a bill? That is what we are discussing already. There's a provision for state independent electoral commissions in place, but the Senate is introducing a new commission. That's what we are discussing. All right, Prof, you have been a former resident electoral commissioner, and I will request you, now that you are on this program, speak to us on ways that you think the state independent electoral commissions could be better positioned to conduct elections that will be acceptable to all and sundry, especially our experience here.
I will say what I've said over and over again. The war in this country is not about laws. The war is about having strong institutions.
But I'll beg to interrupt you very briefly.
Okay.
We are actually, our time is ticking. Let's take a few more calls so that we'll conclude. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Orduen. I'm calling from Industrial Layout.
All right. Orduen.
Yes, I want to thank all the guests in the house, and I want to thank Agri Radio.
Thank you.
I'm not in support for the Senate to create a new body to conduct local government. They should hand over the local government election to INEC rather than creating new bodies. Majority of senators that are in the Senate now, they are governors.
Mm-hmm.
When they were governors on their state, they know what they were doing. Mm-hmm. That is the reason they want to create bodies, so that the governors that are governors on their state now, they have the power to still control those people. Instead of INEC to conduct local government election, why they need that? They said to create a new body. To do what? It's the same PCG that they do, they want to do. because majority of the senators there are governors that left their state. Now they are representing. INEC should conduct local government elections. Thank you. That is my contribution.
Thank you, Godwin Zagia. We appreciate you for your contribution. And that will be our last call, the one from Godwin Zagia. Prof, please continue with your thoughts.
Godwin Zagia said they want to favor the governors. I don't think that's the case. If they wanted to favor the governors, they wouldn't be talking about creating a new body. And so they would have said, okay, state electoral commissions are there, and so they should go ahead and conduct elections. But the point I was making was that we keep talking about laws in this country. It's not as if we even have a culture of respecting laws. So what we need in this country is to have strong institutions on which we would all rely. And so INEC, whether INEC at the federal level or state level commissions are also institutions that we need to rely on and make them strong so that we can continually rely on. And the point I made earlier was that we cannot be running away from a problem and imagine that we're trying to solve it. So all that we're saying is to run away, create additional institutions which will still not be dependable, that will still not be strong, and then pretend that we're trying to solve problems. Somebody did make the point about the fact that, in fact, more people made points, even though nobody seems to agree with the fact that there's no need to create a new body. I mean, and no need to take away elections from the state electoral commissions, but all of them are still saying INEC. And somebody even made a point that was a guarantee that a new body created would also conduct credible elections into local government councils. And another person also made a point about the fact that governors would still interfere. Of course, they will still interfere. So the whole thing then comes to our own attitude towards governance in this country. Exactly. That's what needs to change, basically, before we can talk about having some democratic practice in place as well as development. It's not about creating new institutions. Let's make the ones that we have strong. That is why I would insist, from what I said at the beginning, that we don't need to have another electoral commission. Of course, I understand how people feel about what the state electoral commissions do. But again, there's no guarantee that those new one created or even INEC would still not be manipulated by the governors who sit in the states. So what we need to, again, is to change the attitude, have the right set of mind about democracy and development in this country, and then develop the consciousness for us to make sure that the right thing is done. People can also shy away. We can also be apathetic and imagine that things will go right in this country.
All right. For our experience in Benue, the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission is there preparing for the polls in November. What are the areas you would like them to focus with regards to gaining the confidence of the people? I
think Orduen did say that. The fact that they need to meet with the people, assure them. And of course, for once, somebody could make the sacrifice, at least for once, even the governor could also make the sacrifice, truly allow them to conduct elections freely. There is no way you can tell me that elections will be conducted in this state, even today, and that the APC ruling party would win everywhere. There's no way. Parties also win. Elections, in some cases, would only be, especially for consulship election, it probably would only be about 2 or 3 polling units. And then you cannot tell me that the APC, for example, is virtually everywhere. So what that means is that if we conduct elections creditably in those 3 polling units somewhere, another party will definitely win, and somebody will emerge as councillor. So for once, let's do the right thing. And that could, from there, pick up, they develop people's confidence in what the Electoral Commission is doing. Just like we also gave the example of what Jega did at a point, and then people started having some confidence in what the INEC can do in this country, even though there has been some kind of a relapse. But of course, the INEC is also trying its own way to try and measure up, even though there are failings here and there. And so we need to let practice make perfect, and then develop the right attitude, the right consciousness for the right thing to be done, and then we'll get there.
Okay, we hope we get there, like you rightly said. A few more messages and we'll come back to conclude. Local government autonomy is good, but chairmen should be put under check by authority. By the authority, the way they spend money. A holder, John from Otugbo local government area of Benue State. God bless you, sir. All right, a holder, John, thank you for your message. God bless you too for participating on the program. Another one here says, my name is Uncle P from High Level. My question is, what will be the role of the State Electoral Commission if Federal INEC conducts state election when the bill finally is assented to by the President? Okay. Uncle P, thank you. The bill is still in the works. We'll hope when we get
Well,
it.
the answer to that is that there won't be state electoral commissions anymore. I think the same bill will also remember to take out the state electoral commissions from out of the Constitution.
All right. One last one. Good morning, the presenter and the guests in the studio. I am doing a work. Okay, you are doing a good work. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. I want to advise our regulating agencies to extend their services by monitoring ad hoc staff who are saddled with the responsibilities of conducting election with accountability and transparency on behalf of the public, and this will yield positive result in positioning our good leaders. Nyajo Godwin from Majimba. Thank you, Nyajo Godwin. Engineer Orduen, the time is no longer there for us. Your concluding words, wrapping up with the Supreme Court financial autonomy, how this can be applied to the benefits of the grassroots, and also a word on the consciousness of the people in participating in elections at the theater of government.
Yes, just like I said when I joined the program.
Yes.
That has been one of the landmark judgments of the President in the President Tinubu's administration. The federal government have shown that they have the plight of the local people at heart. Deploy the Attorney General of the Federation to take this matter to the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, and the verdict was that of the people. Then, there are constitutional bottlenecks. Our people should be quite patient. What we were waiting for has arrived. It is like you're waiting for food. It has arrived. You have to look into the soup and see how you enjoy the meal. We will not be fast in making sure that we enjoy this meal. If you don't heat the soup, maybe you will not enjoy the pounded yam. So what we're talking about is that the state independent electoral commissions, who for now have the right to conduct these elections, should restore confidence in the people and the electorate. At a particular time, Nigerians lost that same confidence in INEC. Today, we are in the credible and very transparent election. And I want to advise those at the Electoral Commission that they are indigenes of this state, and they must also do justice to the state. They will also, from what they have heard from the people, they have an assignment to go all out and talk to the people and tell them that we are here to credibly conduct your elections. And once they do that for the first time, you will know that they will restore the confidence in the people, and people will then say that, okay, we never thought that state electoral commissions can behave this way. There will also be a call that this election should be left in the hands of the state electoral commission. Because today, if you are their hands have been removed from the elections, first they have lost their jobs. It is not too good. So they have to work extra miles. From what we have heard from Benue people and Nigerians at large, the issue is that confidence have been lost on the electoral commissions. So they have to restore confidence in their own establishment.
All right.
Maybe have a national body that they will meet, look at the whole thing holistically in the entire federation,
all right,
and bring out a position.
I agree with what Orduen said. I think it's need for us to rebuild the confidence that the people need for us to support the existing institutions and not to create new ones. So, of course, new ones could be created to the point, but then let's also make the ones that are in existence strong enough for and that can be relied upon. Let's also change our attitude to political power in this country. Let those who are in position lead by example. And so for that we can build the confidence and look into the future.
Okay, this is where we end today's edition of Perspectives. I appreciate our discussants on the program, the former resident electoral commissioner of Kogi State, also former head of department political science at the Benue State University, a lecturer in that department at the moment, Professor James Apam. Thank you very much indeed for coming on Perspectives.
Thank you.
A former chairman of Ushongo Local Government Council in Benue State, Engineer Terver Orduen, also shared thoughts with us on the program. We appreciate you, Engineer Orduen.
Thank you very much, Nat.
Dear listener, thank you very much for your listenership. We couldn't take all your calls because we needed to allow the conversation to flow. Bear with us. Join us again on Friday for another edition of Perspectives. I am Nathaniel Nongu. I will see you on Friday. God bless you and have yourself a great Wednesday ahead. Goodbye.